2, 1. Buenas tardes, bienvenidos al Festival de Otoño de Capstone de la Escuela de Humanidad y Comunicación de 2023. Mi nombre es José Luis López y seré su maestro de ceremonias en español.
Good afternoon. Welcome to the Department of Humanities and Communications Fall 2023 Capstone Festival. My name is Vanessa Gonzalez and I will serve as the English-speaking Master of Ceremonies.
Les queremos agradecer a los estudiantes, familiares y amigos que nos acompañan el día de hoy. Igualmente, deseamos agradecerles a todos los profesores y al personal de la Universidad de California Baja de Monterrey por su compromiso con la visión de la universidad. Aparte, con respeto, reconocemos que la universidad se encuentra en la tierra natal de los Esalen.
We would like to thank the students, family, and friends who have joined us today. We also wish to thank the faculty and staff of the California State University, Monterey Bay, for their commitment to the CSUMB vision, and we respectfully acknowledge that CSUMB resides on the homeland of the Esalen people.
Los proyectos de Capstone que ustedes verán hoy reflejan el trabajo de los estudiantes del programa de Humanidades y Comunicación y su concentración en varias áreas de estudio. Estos proyectos representan nuestro trabajo y esfuerzo para traer a la luz temas de gran interés para cada uno de nosotros. Además, los proyectos muestran nuestro crecimiento intelectual y personal y reflejan el apoyo de nuestros profesores.
The capstone projects you will see today reflect the work of students majoring in humanities and communication with a concentration in a number of studies. These projects represent our sustained effort to bring to light issues we are passionate about. These projects represent our intellectual and personal growth and reflect the support of our professors.
Este año tenemos 2 secciones del curso de Capstone. Cada sección se ha dedicado a explorar una temática en particular. El primer tema es Comida, Ética y Capitalismo, dirigido por el Dr. Abraham. El segundo tema es Cultura e Ideología, dirigido por el Dr. Patrick Ballinger. Los estudiantes han tenido la opción de explorar estos temas a través de las siguientes modalidades, por medio de un trabajo de investigación o un proyecto creativo.
This year we have 2 sections of our senior capstone course. Each section has devoted its efforts to explore a particular theme. The first theme is Food, Ethics, and Capitalism, led by Dr. Abraham. The second theme is Culture and Ideology, led by Dr. Belanger. Students in each section have been led to explore these themes by working on either a research project or a creative project.
Durante el descanso, tendrán la oportunidad de hablar con los estudiantes en torno a sus experiencias. Nos reunimos en el vestíbulo de los estudiantes, compartirán enlaces digitales para sus proyectos. Además, algunos estudiantes de cada clase fueron seleccionados para presentar una muestra representativa de los proyectos de su clase.
During the intermission, you will have an opportunity to talk with all students about their projects. We will congregate in the lobby and students will share digital links to their projects. Several students from each capstone section were selected to present a representative sample of projects from each class.
Y ahora nos gustaría invitar al director de la Escuela de Humanidades y Comunicación, el Dr. Phong Nguyen, para darles la bienvenida al Festival de Otoño de Capstone de 2023.
And now we would like to invite the chair of the Department of Humanities and Communication, Dr. Phong Nguyen, to personally welcome you to the Fall 2023 Capstone Festival.
Good afternoon, students, faculty, staff, family, friends. Today marks an important chapter in the lives of our capstone scholars. They spent 15 weeks in class with each other and their professors, turning in proposals, outlines, and drafts of their senior projects. Capstone is one class and the Capstone Festival is one day. But the work you've done will have value far beyond that. In academia, we often say that research is me-search, which is to say that some of the best projects are born of something you're very passionate about and reflect values and ideas a lifetime in the making. We are very proud of the work you've done and also grateful for all the care and support our students have received from their families and friends. So congratulations to you as well. This is also your day to celebrate. Our students come from a diverse range of backgrounds, but there are some things they have in common, such as a burning desire to make the world a better place where people treat each other, treat themselves, and treat the planet with kindness and care. Their lives and their work navigate the complicated tension between survival and justice. Some call it the tension between pragmatism and idealism. I tend to see it as knowing how to work the system on the one hand versus having a system that works for all of us, or at least as many of us as possible. As I like to tell my students, all our lives we've been told that the key to getting ahead is working hard and staying out of trouble. Every one of us is here because we've followed these wise words. We put in long hours, made important sacrifices, and hope that these decisions will pay off in the long run. We're also here because there are people who've insisted that wasn't enough. Would there even be, for example, a United States of America if people only worked hard and stayed out of trouble? And how much progress would we have made in terms of civil rights, women's rights, immigrant rights, LGBTQ rights, and economic fairness if everyone refused to rock the boat? Sometimes we are not in positions to challenge power, and sometimes we must speak up because our voice can inspire future generations to continue the fight. A cursory glance at our 8 presentations on stage today tells us so much about how our seniors have their hearts and minds in the right place. From analysis of food insecurity and the power of narratives to the economics of mid-level marketing schemes and gender dynamics to creative pieces that tap into our collective consciousness about social relations. There is something for everybody. I'm looking forward to all the presentations, and I hope that you do too. Thank you.
Y ahora, gracias, doctor Nguyen, por sus palabras de bienvenida. Y ahora vamos a iniciar las presentaciones que fueron seleccionadas como una muestra representativa de proyectos de cada clase.
Thank you, Dr. Nguyen, for your welcome. And now we would like to begin with the oral presentations prepared by the selected presenters from each section.
A continuación, les damos bienvenida a nuestros presentadores del tema La comida, la ética y el capitalismo. El primer presentador es Luis Contreras.
Now, please join us in welcoming our first presenter to the stage in representing the theme Food Ethics and Capitalism. Our first presenter is Luis Contreras.
Thank you to our amazing MCs and our HCOM chair, Fong Nguyen, for the amazing introduction. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Luis Contreras. My concentration within the HCOM major is legal studies, and I'm also minoring in business and administration. I am both honored and proud to be here to be the starting presentation for our annual HCOM Capstone Festival. I would like to express my utmost appreciation and gratitude to my capstone professor, Dr. Ajit Abraham, for the unlimited encouragement and support. To our amazing research instruction librarian, Kelsey Nordstrom Sanchez, with their unhesitating support and guidance. Both have been the backbone to both my capstone project and the courage for my future. I would like to extend my gratitude to the HCOM faculty for helping me reach my overall success And finally, a huge thank you to my whole family for the inspiration, dedication, and ultimate sacrifice. Growing up as a child, I had always lived in what we would consider a low-income community. Whether it was in the Coachella Valley, the city of Inglewood in the Los Angeles County, or in the city of San Jose in the Santa Clara County. Having the same experiences from wherever I lived, it felt like a norm. However, it was not until I grew older that I was exposed to higher-end grocery stores that had labels of little familiarity to me at the time, such as organic, cage-free, grass-fed, and free roaming and more. In the state of California, it costs an extra $36 per food basket for every grocery trip to include these labels within them. In the last handful of years, I was educated on how low-income communities, especially those that reside within food deserts, which are areas with low access to better quality food, how they suffer consequences of having limited access. Hence my capstone project on the lack of quality food access among low-income communities in the United States. First, this paper will take a look into how and why the food industry in the United States distributes mass-produced food to our society. Furthermore, my research will mainly focus on the impact of the low-quality food distribution on low-income communities who can mostly afford cheaper food in contrast to healthier and organic foods that are purchased at a more consistent rate in higher-income communities. Lastly, my research will point out the outlying factors that contribute to the impact on low-income communities. Here I discuss how the addition of these factors make it more difficult for these communities to get their hands on better quality foods and the complexity of trying to resolve these issues. Thank you for listening and for being here today in support of all of us capstone students. In continuation with our amazing projects, I am happy to present my fellow colleague, Mad Bolander, to the stage.
Thank you, Louise. Hello, everyone. My name is Mad Bolander, obviously majoring in HCOM. My concentration is in legal studies, and I have a minor in global studies. I want to thank you all for being here today and sharing in the accomplishments of my brilliant peers. I would also specifically like to thank Kelsey Nordstrom Sanchez for her help in all the research that I've done at this school. Since I was a child, it has been my passion to empower. Instilled with stubborn optimism, I took it upon myself to better understand the intersection of power and ethics through communication and legal studies here at CSUMB. Across all my studies, a key contributor to injustice globally is climate change. Each day, the fight to mitigate the effects of climate change has presented more loss, more fatigue, and despair as it multiplies the threat of conflict over resources and human rights grievances, both international and domestic. In my studies, I have found solutions to this climate crisis must be personal. They must connect communities and form commonalities. They must reflect the needs of those already living under the effects of climate change with affordable resilience. I believe we must start in our homes, in our communities, and so I focused here in the heart of the empire. My project, Just Food, Sovereign Adaptations in Agriculture to Mitigate the Effects of Climate Change and Food Insecurity in the United States, argues the climate crisis is a hunger catastrophe. Our agricultural system must transform to meet climate goals and safeguard a food-secure future. As of now, our abundance of food is the result of crops with more chemicals in them than any other nation on the planet, threatening soil productivity and significantly increasing our greenhouse gas emissions each time we till fields. I wanted to know why. Why is it that we force higher production for profit under the guise it will feed more people when millions of us are starving each year? And how? Warmer temperatures create larger gaps in output and distribution, forcing vital crop production down, inhibiting our ability to mitigate this harmful production cycle. The question is not how we will run out of food, it is when. Discrepancies within the U.S. food system can be thwarted by food sovereignty. This method of regenerative agriculture can be done in your kitchen with food products already familiar to you. Food sovereignty focuses on small-scale production and harvesting methods that maximize the contribution of ecosystems, water conservation, and avoid costly and toxic inputs that vastly improve the resiliency of local food systems in the face of climate change. My thesis tells all. Food is deeply intertwined with the survivability of and inextricably from the operating principles of society. It is pertinent. In the face of climactic disaster, the U.S. must implement food sovereignty as agricultural policy. I first outline in my project key data from the agricultural sector, which is leading to ecosystem decline and contributing to emissions in the United States. Particularly, I focus on the productivity of soils, the allocation of water, and cattle feeding crops to highlight inherently unsustainable industrial norms. Having analyzed how these policies contribute to hunger, resource depletion, and greenhouse gas emissions, I then discuss the tenets of environmental justice as they relate to food sovereignty. As each of us gains control over our food production, environmental burdens and benefits distribute equally amongst communities. Ultimately, I want you all to remember, humans cannot escape the biological need to eat. From cultivation to consumption, a warming planet threatens the next generation's ability to feed themselves. We still have safe places to live. We still have safe places to grow food, and the ability to make changes that will safeguard our children's futures. It really is up to us. Thank you. And with that, I would like to introduce my colleague, Callista Dykes.
Thank you for the introduction, Mad. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Callista Dykes, and I am pursuing a concentration in communication studies within the HCOM major, as well as a business administration minor. Before I begin, I would quickly like to thank Professors Murdula Mascarenas, Kristen LaFollette, Francis Turner, and Doreen Danielson for providing me with the skills, knowledge, and support needed to conduct this project. I would also like to thank my mom, who is my biggest supporter, and without her, I would not be standing here today. The title of my project is Unmasking the Dangers, a comprehensive analysis of multi-level marketing, MLM schemes, and their impact on women. For those of you who are unfamiliar, multi-level marketing, or MLMs, are businesses that rely on direct selling to gain revenue, as well as the recruitment of distributors to earn a commission on their sales. MLMs are extremely popular in the United States, with over 20 million participants, and the vast majority of them being women. In my paper, I discuss how MLMs negatively impact their female participants. I do this first by analyzing the severe financial repercussions they have on women. For instance, over 75% of participants either break even on their investments or lose money. I also critique MLM's hierarchical power structures and discuss how they impose unattainable cultural hegemony on women. They do this through the promotion of luxurious lifestyles as the norm, despite a lack of upward social mobility opportunities for these participants. Lastly, I investigate their association with diet culture and pseudoscience, as well as the impact that has on women's mental and physical health. The purpose of my project is to start a conversation, with the hope that dialogue will ultimately result in improved consumer protection and regulation. I was inspired to do this project by my life and growing up in the Central Valley of California, where many people from my high school and even family members were heavily involved in MLMs. My project strongly relates to the course theme of food, ethics, and capitalism. In my project, I really hone in on food-based MLMs that sell products such as smoothies, coffee, meal replacements, and supplements. I point out ethical dilemmas within these MLMs that were made possible by a capitalistic system that prioritizes profit over people. Overall, I learned a lot conducting this project, and I hope that my paper's research will shed light on the detrimental effects MLMs have on women. Thank you for your time. Next up is Sarah Brown.
Thank you for the introduction, Callista, and thank you all for coming and supporting this festival. Before I get into my short presentation, I wanted to thank my parents for their continued support of my education, especially my mom, who still proofreads all my papers till this day. I want to thank my older sister for pushing me to take opportunities that I only dreamed of and didn't quite think myself capable of. And lastly, I want to thank my friends who have shown me nothing but kindness and inspired me to work really hard throughout my years here. You're all brilliant, and I love you. My capstone is a creative fiction piece titled Tender, written for younger readers. The main theme is community gardening as a form of green resistance to capitalism and a way to give power of production back to the people. The project is informed by research, but modeled after fiction pieces such as The Underland Chronicles by Suzanne Collins and Percy Jackson and the Olympians by Rick Riordan, which were beloved reads of my childhood. The title Tender lends itself to multiple meanings. It is a tender, someone who tends to fields. It is tender, a way of treating others intimately and familiarly. It's also money tender, but most importantly, it's chicken tender. This story is a Wizard of Oz and Wicked-inspired allegory for the current state of food capitalism and food injustice in the US. The wizard is both the man in charge of government and the owner of the largest food monopoly, from the means of production all the way up to the sale of produce and processed goods. The Wicked Witch is a resistance leader trying to help people in need who are abused under this system. The main character is dropped into the scene already in motion and tasked with helping turn the tide against capitalistic greed and government. And now I'd like to share a brief excerpt from my piece. With a quick squeeze of the hand, Evie let go of the witch to let the adults meet and discuss. She entertained the kids. It was harder without the kittens, the group wilting at the news she didn't have them with her, but she had other methods. Before long, she was teaching them games like Duck, Duck, Goose and creating elaborate hopscotch squares on the dirt road. She watched the line of kids take turns at the newest formation. She had done the same thing with her siblings on a weekend off from school. When the meeting adjourned, the kids noticed first. Some broke off from the games to run up to their parents who had taken part in the meeting, immediately detailing the afternoon activities in bright voices. Evie waited for a tense moment, searching for Elfie's gaze. She ran over as well when her search found her smiling and talking with the farmers. When the woman finished her conversation, she turned to Evie, sweeping her into a hug and spun them in a circle before depositing her back on her feet. Laughter bubbled from Evie. They agreed. I told them everything about me, about you, and they listened. Some of ours will stay behind to learn to grow, and the wizard forced them to farm in a way that maximized yield, but they are getting back to the ways they used to work with the soil, and eventually we'll be able to grow like that in our camp, too. For them, we'll build chicken coops and water reclamation systems so that they don't have to rely on rainwater or the river miles away at the edge of their land. Once we deal with the wizard's guards, they'll be more free to travel from Munchkinland and establish new settlements, Elfie gushed. The elder welcomed them to join the dinner. Everyone was in high spirits that night. The final product I have here today is something I am both proud of as well as something I consider a work in progress. I hope to continue developing the story and the research behind Tender for years to come. Thank you for listening, and please invite my colleague Joshua Apsley to the podium.
Thank you, Sarah, and everyone who came before me. Good afternoon, everyone. I am Joshua Apsley, a legal studies concentration. Before I fully begin, a round of acknowledgments. First, to Professor Deborah Busman, who all but allowed me to convert her class, at least as it pertains to me, this semester into a second workshop for my capstone. Without the time and the oversight that provided me, it would undoubtedly be a far inferior product to what ultimately emerged. Thank you, Professor. Secondly, to my mother, whose wit and grasp of language eviscerated my project wherever she looked at it and made it all the better for it. Her care and attention, both concerning my capstone and throughout my life, cannot be understated. Thank you, and I love you, Mom. Now, a quote from George F. Kennan, Kennedy administration's ambassador to Yugoslavia. We have about 50% of the world's wealth, but only 6.3% of its population. Our real task in the coming period is to devise a pattern of relationships which will permit us to maintain this position of disparity. Though Kennan was neither the first nor only to hold that particular position nor to put it to praxis, his words are the most instructive as to the modus operandi of the global economy as it currently stands. My project is 8 lamentations, a collection of poems which concern how capitalism, in the form of that global economy, have changed the ethics of our food. But I hope that an excerpt will serve better and that my verse will explain more than my prose. A tower rises in the west. Its shadow crosses the seas. The slaves of its table look upon its height, on bent knee, knee-deep in shit, prostrate before the mouths they feed, furrowing the lines across their foreheads and warding away the crows whose footprints fall beneath the eyes their masters will not meet. Its banks are the rivers of the world, brimming with the waters of the Mississippi, the Ganges, the Rio de la Plata, wrung from cracked tongues into plastic ingots minted with a blue trident, loaned zealously to build cities of angels and make silicon deserts rain. Its people are soldiers, prospectors, missionaries, and socialites, sustained off foreign lands to seize them, who spew the gospel of Canaan with the words of Victor, whose horses drink down black gold and breathe funeral colors out into the clouds above our head. Its subjects are the laymen who load years of their lives into containers aboard the Narensheaf for that forbidden fruit from those ever-growing paper orchards, whose flavor etches the same language into the tongues of every man. We have built the Tower of Babel. May God tear it down. Thank you.
En este momento les invitamos a ver los pósters, a disfrutar de algunos bocadillos y a platicar con los estudiantes que estarán disponibles en las mesas del vestíbulo principal. Todos los estudiantes están listos y emocionados de compartir lo que han logrado en su proceso de Capstone. Regresaremos para las siguientes presentaciones a las 3:10.
We now invite you to join the refreshments and to take time to talk with graduating scholars who will be available at the tables in the main lobby. All the students are ready and excited to share what they've accomplished for Capstone. We will reconvene at 3:10 for the next set of presentations.
Y ahora les damos la bienvenida a los siguientes presentadores del tema Cultura y Ideología. La primera presentadora es Lorelai Page.
And now, please join us in welcoming our second set of presenters to the stage, representing the theme Culture and Ideology. Our first presenter is Lorelai Page.
Thank you so much for the introduction, MCs, and I hope you all enjoyed our great poster session. I would like to thank my mom for being my main inspiration for everything that I do, and I'd also like to blame her for what you are about to hear. Because earlier in this semester, I was having lunch with her, and we got to talking about her menopause symptoms, and she said something that kind of piqued my interest. She said, "Sometimes I feel like I'm a werewolf." And that has guided my entire capstone project from here on out. So my short story, Women of the Wood, is about a woman who's going through menopause who discovers that she has the ability to turn into a werewolf. And she discovers a community of other women who have that same ability. I decided to set the short story in mainstream America today, and I decided to not choose a specific town or state to reference so that it could be more general, and anyone that was reading it could see it as more accessible and more relatable to them. I also was working off of the theoretical framework of symbolism. So symbolism is when you use one thing to represent another thing, like when you use a heart to represent love. Or in this case, I'm using the symbol of the werewolf to represent women's bodies and how intense and visceral it can often be to be a woman, even later in your life when you think all of the big changes have already taken place. I also referenced the novel Women Who Run with the Wolves by Clara Pinkola Estes because myths about female werewolves are surprisingly common. So I decided to go off of the framework of those existing myths to build my own story. Now, fiction can often be a way to empathize with people who aren't yourself, because viewing things through metaphor can help you understand them better. But sadly, pop culture today doesn't really represent older women that much. If they're even in the story, they are villains, or they're caretakers, or they're joke characters. But I wanted to have this story starring a female protagonist who's older, because I wanted her to be able to tell her own story. And so this demographic that's not often seen as protagonists can finally feel seen in the fiction that they read. Now, there's something to be said of the werewolf being used to symbolize menstruation or puberty in young girls, which that is a potent metaphor, and I have explored that before in my previous work, but I think menopause is a better metaphor here because it's not talked about as much. It's very taboo. People are taught to shove it down and not talk about it in daily life, but I think it's an important issue, and it's something that almost every woman goes through, so we should have it represented in our fiction. There's also something to be said for the masculine werewolf. You know, most people, when you think of werewolves, you probably think of Jacob Black from Twilight. You think of this sweaty man with these big muscles, and he's like ripping off his shirt. But I wanted to use the werewolf to instead symbolize femininity and connectivity and feeling in touch with your own body, even when it seems to rebel against you. So talk to an older woman in your life today. I'm sure she has things to teach you, even though you may not have asked her questions before. And pay attention to who's represented in pop culture, because those representations matter in the real world. The stuff we consume in media directly translates to how we treat people in the real world. And finally, I close with an excerpt from my short story, Women of the Wood. And then it happened. Carrie's body stretched and shifted. Her body temperature rose to a feverish high. She could practically feel every nerve warping. There she was, not human and yet more a woman than she'd ever been. And there was everyone, nudging Carrie with their snouts encouragingly, barking with unadulterated joy. It was real. It was all real. This time, Carrie didn't run with thoughtless abandon. She ran in company. She ran with full awareness. Everything was brighter again. Her senses were overrun with things she never would have noticed as a human. It was a controlled euphoria. She hadn't felt this happy to be alive before. Thank you so much. And now I'd like to introduce our next presenter, Heather Wishlow.
Thank you, Lorelei, and thank you, Mom. So that was a fabulous spotlight on such an important topic. I'd like to thank Patrick, our teacher, our professor, for giving me the space to be a non-traditional student and to focus on a topic that was important to me with storytelling. So the ancient art of storytelling is a form of human expression. It's woven into the fabric of every culture throughout history. We tell stories to entertain, to teach, to shape behavior, and to promote our traditions and our values. Through words and actions, storytellers connect audiences with key elements and images in an emotional, sensorial manner that transports them to places in their own imagination. Stories evolve and change over time. Not all stories are true, and not all stories are accurate, with the truth being less important than their ability to create cohesion with a society. Stories operate at the level of stories represent the rational and the subconscious aspects of ourselves. So cultural practices such as gossip or rituals allow us to work with symbolic forms of communication to understand each other, but to what it symbolizes for each of us. Stories are cultivated, they're repeated over time, and they begin to coalesce, and they create these powerful socio-cultural narratives. These narratives are persuasive. They're a set of beliefs and values and ideas about what's important to us. These types of narratives are global and they're ubiquitous. All cultures, as I mentioned, share that. They're integral to unifying people, and they're foundational to the country's mythology and its identity. For the United States, this reflects a complex, nuanced history. My research project examines the importance of story, structure, language, nonverbal communication, and symbolism in creating these stories. It also looks at the role of the storyteller and how they propagate these American sociocultural narratives, and it functions as an impetus for action. Symbolic action simply means to take action based on language and symbols that a person perceives and has a shared understanding of. Edward Burke, the creator of this theory, offers all language is inherently persuasive because symbolic acts do something as well as say something. To explore this in greater depth, I have chosen 5 primary sociocultural narratives that reflect the national ethos and ideology of the United States. The narrative set includes the following: all men are created equal. The American dream. America is a melting pot. America is a global leader. Consumerism is patriotism. Each of these narratives have historical relevance in the United States, and they are recognizable in the public. Leaders in America share these narratives through a wide variety of storytelling modalities. And these 5 cultural narratives build on universal literary themes such as equality, possibility, assimilation, leadership, and patriotism. They also offer us all pathways for action. From a cultural and sociological perspective, these narratives give people a sense of purpose and fulfillment. They offer ways for people to make sense of their lives and understand their role in society. However, for many underrepresented groups, these cultural narratives appear false or associated with a historical shadow of shame. The whitewashed versions of these stories contradict individuals' experiences of racism, xenophobia, and intolerance. The storytellers of society often denigrate or ignore the stories about these individuals. Their history and past successes are forgotten, and they are left without a voice to change their future. Understanding the literary elements of storytelling is important to maintain a level of awareness of when stories are being used to control or manipulate. So my research explores this work through the lens of various academics, and through this interconnected framework and the historical analysis of each of these narratives, I offer a greater understanding of the power that storytelling has in our society and the need to create optimal conditions for better and more inclusive narratives to emerge. I look forward to talking with you and hearing more about the stories that guide your lives. Quiero escuchar las historias que son más importantes para ti en la vida. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hello. Thank you. My name is Kira Heath. I'm a social action writing concentration HCOM major. My capstone project is an introspection on the effects of sexual abuse in the realm of love and sex. And since this is such a sensitive topic, I'd like to provide a few moments for those who need to make arrangements the time to do so. I, like so many other children in America, was sexually trafficked and abused. I've often used this topic and poetry throughout my time here at CSUMB as a way to heal and to find my own voice throughout my recovery. I wanted my capstone to honestly reflect my time here at CSUMB, so I utilized a poetry narrative to delve into the day-to-day struggles of recovery. I want to thank my Aunt Colleen Palmer. I was deeply inspired to present and write this capstone project because of her. She introduced me to my love of poetry and has listened very lovingly to all of my poems. Thank you.
I created this work to provide solidarity with other victims and for those who don't understand this struggle. I used the Notes app on my phone to create this work. It's what I had readily available in the moment. I wanted to take this project day by day to reflect the day-to-day struggles that life can be in recovery. And so I tied this project to my class's theme of culture. I noticed in mainstream culture that both rape and trafficking are too often seen as attention-getting hooks for procedurals or as a point of blame towards victims, instead of a representation of the strength it takes for victims to survive. There's a severe lack of stories surrounding recovery. I wanted to push against the boundaries of mainstream culture and tell my story. I wanted to create a message of hope, especially for victims. I believe that all those recovering from sexual abuse are phoenixes, but sometimes it's difficult to know how to rise from the ashes. So I'd like to leave you with the last poem of my project. The worst part of living is guilt, how it snows down around you, hibernating your connection to life. Once you are numb, a blade comes and cuts you, rib cage to groin. It hollows you out, plants hot doubt deep into your core until you become abominable. Burning, yet freezing, furious and cold, stuck in a snowstorm only the backs of your eyes can see. When the sun finally melts away the ice and you can see the damage you've done, how you've carved yourself into zero, you will have the urge to open your wounds, to find this seed of doubt and turn it to dust beneath your frigid fingertips. Resist the urge for 3 breaths longer than you think you can bear. Then hum. I mean it. Hum until your eyes water, hum until you can't hum, until you want to scream, then do. Jump up and down on one foot, hop, skip until your heels bleed. Give yourself back to yourself, slow or fast, sober or not. You will find you've filled that empty seed with life. You'll know you have succeeded when you hold yourself as the tears are coming, the hiccups ending. You'll know when you cry faster than the anger can catch up. Know that the rush behind your ears is the river rush of relief as the glaciers of grief melt. Know that the cold your back feels will fade, and you will find the kind touch of love again. It will be your own, and it won't be. It will feel new, and it won't. You will feel the rigid scar of doubt when your lover runs their fingers over your core. They already know you have it. They are not deterred. In fact, they love you for surviving, for getting to love you now. No, it was not for nothing. No, you are not nothing, though you may feel your actions carry no weight, or that you are wading through nothing, being eroded by each very moment. Though it may feel like that, though you may now not remember what it feels like to exist beyond pain, it's a possibility that you contain, and it's important not to refrain from the simple pleasures of life, like living without guilt. So take your humming, crying, bleeding self, and know that one day you will feel human again, messy and alive, laughing and in love with life. And know you are lucky you found a way to survive past evil with love in your eyes. Thank you. And I would like to take the chance to applaud everybody who has graduated this semester. It's such an incredible accomplishment, and I'm so proud of all of us. So thank you all for being here tonight.
Y ahora vamos a darles la bienvenida a los profesores de Humanidades y Comunicación al escenario para felicitar personalmente a los estudiantes graduados mientras reciben sus certificados.
At this time, we would like to welcome all the HCOM faculty to come to the stage in order to personally congratulate the graduating scholars as they receive their certificates.
Ahora presentaremos al profesor de Capstone, el doctor Ajit Abraham y el doctor Fong Nguyen, quienes reconocerán a los alumnos. Comenzaremos con el doctor Abraham.
Next, we would like to introduce the Capstone professor, Dr. Ajit Abraham, and Fong Nguyen, who will recognize their classes. We will begin with Dr. Abraham.
Well, thank you all for being here. This is an extremely proud moment for us as faculty. Unfortunately, my colleague, Dr. Patrick Belanger, couldn't be here, but he sends a few words to his section. So let me read that out for you, and then I'd like to follow up with a few words as well. Graduating capstone students, I was excited to celebrate with you in person today, but due to a sickness, I unfortunately can't be there. But most important, you did it. Congratulations. After several years in the HCOM major and 4 months studying the theme of culture and ideology, you've crafted exceptional final portfolios that epitomize your individual passions and creativity. I am grateful for your hard work to generate final projects that showcase innovative research and creative insights. The variety of topics and approaches is inspiring. This is one milestone in a longer journey, one well worth celebrating among your families, colleagues, and the broader HCOM community. Again, congratulations. You have created beautiful work, and you should be proud as you go forward towards the next adventure. Let's give a warm applause to Patrick's section. I resonate with a lot of Patrick's message. I'd like to just quickly acknowledge the presence of our chair, Dr. Fong Nguyen, who actually gave me this opportunity to teach this capstone seminar the second time around. I was kind of dabbling about what topic should I pick, and of course I decided to stick with the same topic I did last year. And it sits well with a lot of our students because food, of course, is universal. But they came at it from very critical perspectives. I've seen them grow as scholars. I've seen them being challenged. We've had very insightful deliberations in our classroom and even amongst our community members. So I'm very fortunate to have taught this section. You make me so extremely proud. Emotional. And of course, I would also like to make a note of people behind the scenes, right? People like Wendy, for example. There you go. Kelsey Norsom Sanchez, she's not here, but she's our research librarian. She's been so critical in this process. I think our students appreciate her as well. And many others. And of course, we are so extremely proud of you. So without any further ado, let's begin with the certificates. Joshua Apsley. Rachel Bevel. Alan Perez Palma. Anderson Jones. Jason Gallo. Callista Dykes. Mom, you want to take a picture? Thank you. Proud of you. No. Come. Luis Contreras. Sarah Brown. Mad Bolander. Jose Luis Lopez.
Thank you so much. Couldn't have done it without you.
Lauren Pointer. So let's go move on. Yeah, she already got the love. Eileen Sandoval. Aaron Roybal. Aaron Roybal. Oh, I just saw him here a little while ago. And Ross Seals.
I will have the honor of reading out the names of our graduating senior from Patrick Belanger's class. Some of you I might not have met, so I will do my best. You guys are ready. I'll give them a second to get ready. All right, let's start with Cecilia Cochico. Zaida Bryson. Harrison Apt. He'll come back eventually. Alexander Desjardins. Wendy Fernandez. Jessica Gaston. She'll be back later as well. Natalie Fink. Vanessa Gonzalez. Kira Heath. Ashley Hogue. That's okay. Ashley deserves a round of applause too. David Jackson. Akif Khaled. Jacob crossed. Brandon Padilla. Lorelei Page. Nadia Pulu. Elijah Ramos. Gloria Salcido. Gerardo Sanchez. Patricia Slayson. Charles Torresias. Liana Valenzuela. William Van Ness. Lena Vincent.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Ezra Vizcara. And lastly, Heather Wieshlow.
Gracias a todos por venir al Festival de Otoño de Capstone a la Escuela de Humanidades y Comunicación del 2020-23. Gracias a todos que vinieron a apoyarme a mí y a mis compañeros. Esperamos que hayan disfrutado las presentaciones y de la galería de trabajos.
Thank you everyone for coming to the School of Humanities and Communication Fall 2023 Capstone Festival. We hope that you enjoyed the presentations and the exhibits.
Ahora nos gustaría agradecer al personal y a los profesores de la Escuela de Humanidades y Comunicación, en especial a los profesores de Capstone, Ajit Abraham y Patrick Belanger, por inspirarnos y guiarnos en nuestro trayecto. Ahora les pedimos el favor de pararse a los profesores de la Escuela de Humanidades y Comunicación para ser reconocidos.
At this time, we'd like to thank the staff and faculty of the School of Humanities and Communication, and particularly to the capstone professors, Dr. Ajit Abraham and Dr. Patrick Belanger, for inspiring and guiding us through this journey. We ask that the faculty of the Department of Humanities and Communication please stand to be recognized.
Finalmente, se les agradece a los estudiantes de Capstone, a los presentadores y a los voluntarios quienes han dedicado mucho tiempo y esfuerzo para preparar este evento.
And last, we'd like to thank the Capstone students, presenters, and volunteers who have devoted much time and effort in preparation of the Capstone Festival.
Yeah.
Gracias por acompañarnos y que pasen una excelente tarde.
Thank you for joining us and have a beautiful evening.